Murder Weekly now has merch. Find shirts, mugs, and more with the Murder Weekly logo for sale at our merch store. There's free shipping and 10% off now with the coupon NEWMERCH10. Did we mention there's free shipping? Check out all the goods at caloroga.com, that's CALOROGA.com, or just look for the link in the show notes. Thanks for supporting the show. We really appreciate it.
Caloroga Shark Media. Hello and welcome to Murder Weekly. This episode is titled Shake It Up.
It was another typical night at the rundown Burger World on Maple Avenue. Derek, a lanky 19-year-old employee, slumped behind the front counter looking utterly bored. He idly scrolled through his phone, barely glancing up as the entrance jingled open. In strutted Terry Higgs, a disheveled man in his 30s wearing a rumpled suit. He marched up to the counter with an odd, semi-crazed determination in his eyes. "I need a large chocolate shake, immediately," Terry stated bluntly. Derek barely looked up from his phone. "Sorry, man, shake machine's busted again." Terry's eye twitched ever so slightly. "Excuse me, what did you just say?" Letting out an exaggerated sigh, Derek shrugged. "Shake machine ain't working, dude. Like, what's so hard to understand about that?" Aries' face began turning a deep shade of crimson. He glared daggers at the apathetic teenager, his fists clenching tightly at his sides. A vein bulged dangerously on his forehead as he fumed in silence. Derek, oblivious to the rising tension, kept idly scrolling through social media. Finally, Terry explosively broke the silence. "You listen here, you little twerp," he shouted, spit flying. "I've had a hell of a day and I need a damn shake." Derek slowly looked up from his phone, eyes widening at the middle-aged man's sudden unhinged outburst. He opened his mouth to respond, but Terry wasn't finished. "No, shut it! Shut your mouth right now!" Terry's voice had risen to an unnerving shout, causing the few customers in the restaurant to turn and watch the spectacle unfold. "I'm not asking, I'm telling you. Get your pimply ass in back and fix that goddamn machine this instant." Somehow maintaining an impressive level of calmness, Derek attempted to diffuse the increasingly volatile situation. "Look, man, I hear you," he responded evenly. "But there's nothing I can do. It ain't my call to make repairs. Plus, I ain't got the first clue how to even fix that thing. You want a shake? You're gonna have to come back another day." Unfortunately, Derek's reasonable response only further enraged the already unstable Terry. His face contorted in apoplectic fury as he erupted again. "Are you kidding me?" he bellowed, flecks of spittle flying from his mouth. "You incompetent sacks of shit clog arteries serving billions of greasy meat patties a year, but suddenly the milkshake machine is too difficult to operate." At this point, Terry began pounding his fist on the counter with each word, emphasizing his rant. The few elderly customers shrank back in fear, covering their ears at the distressing scene. "Do you know who I am?" Terry continued shouting, his face just inches from the frozen Derek. "I'm Terry effing Higgs, one of the top sales directors for Ka-Bomb. Snack foods. I make over 6 figures schmoozing clueless market drones into distributing the absolute worst pre-packaged snacks known to mankind." He paused, wild eyes scanning Derek's terrified face for any hint of recognition. Finding none, Terry pressed on, spittle collecting at the corners of his mouth. "Ridiculously wealthy, and yet after closing a massively important Cheesy Chew donut account today, I find myself unable to celebrate with a simple effing milkshake from a dilapidated burger joint that reeks of stale grease and failure." By now, the few remaining customers had made a hasty exit, no doubt sensing the impending explosion. Outside, people walking by on the street paused and peered through the windows in confusion at the unfolding scene. "No amount of money is worth this disrespect." Terry's voice had taken on a chilling snarl as he leaned across the counter, his features twisted into a visage of utter mania. "You want to act smug and deny me my shake? Say hello to my nutritiously delicious friend?" Before the narrator could even react, Terry reached into his suit jacket and withdrew a grotesquely large handgun. Derek's eyes went wide as saucers, his hands raising instinctively as he fell backwards with a yelp. "Oh God, man, please, I'm just trying to..." Blam! The gunshot seemed to stop the entire world for one eternal second. In the next, time resumed in slow motion as the narrator saw the spray of crimson erupt from Derek's chest in a thick mist. His eyes registered shock for the briefest of moments before rolling back, his now lifeless body crumpling to the grimy tile floor. For several seconds, a stunned silence fell over the deserted burger world. Terry stood there behind the counter, chest heaving, the smoking gun still outstretched. Finally, a twisted grin crept across his face. "Well, no milkshake tonight," he muttered to no one in particular, "but at least now this shithole is finally closed for good." With that utterly bizarre statement, Terry slid the gun back into his jacket and strode out of the restaurant, whistling a merry tune completely at odds with the bloody scene he left in his wake. Eight blocks away, two jaded police detectives were just wrapping up their shift when the radio crackled with a call that would truly test their ability to stay unimpressed. "All units respond. Gunshots fired at Burger World on Maple." Detective Teresa Cruz rolled her eyes and glanced at her partner, Zach Nelson, as he guided their cruiser through the seedy industrial district. "You've got to be effing kidding me," she muttered in disgust. "Who shoots up a Burger World? On a Tuesday night, no less?" "You'd be surprised," Nelson replied with a sardonic chuckle. "Guaranteed it's some crackhead dipshit trying to rob the place for slushy money." Still, he flipped on the cruiser's sirens as Cruz radioed dispatch for more details. Little did they know, the scene they were about to witness would open up one of the most bizarre murder cases of their careers. As the duo raced to the scene, more calls kept flooding in about a man wandering the streets brandishing a large firearm. Finally, reports of gunfire at the old abandoned plastics factory 2 miles away hit the radio. Cruz slammed the cruiser in park, unholstering her weapon as she exited the vehicle. Nelson did the same as they slowly approached the factory entrance, senses on high alert. "This is the police," Cruz's authoritative voice rang out firmly. "Come out with your hands up or we will be forced to..." She was cut off as a large metallic object came clattering out the doorway, followed by an all-too-familiar figure whistling cheerfully as he strolled into view. It was Terry Higgs, the same crazed gunman from the Burger World, who now sported a heavy-duty metal milkshake machine slung over his shoulder. Upon seeing the two detectives, he waved the hand, not holding the firearm, in greeting. "Why, hello there, officers. Isn't it just a marvelous evening for an ice-cold milkshake?" Cruz and Nelson exchanged a dumbfounded look before instinctively leveling their weapons. "Freeze. Drop the gun and whatever the hell that is you've got there," Cruz barked, her tone steely. Terry tutted in overacted disappointment, shaking his head slowly. I was afraid you'd react like that. You see, this here shake machine is the only one in this whole damn town that works reliably." He giggled to himself, clearly finding the situation amusing in his deranged state. And after all the unpleasantness back at that shitbox Burger World, it's the least I deserve for my effort. Now why don't you two pious public servants run along and let me enjoy my sweet frosty treat in peace? The detectives had no choice but to take this raving lunatic into custody, but as they closed in, Terry raised his handgun in one lightning-quick motion, only to have his shot go wide as Cruz opened fire, 2 precise rounds slamming into the center of Terry's chest. He looked almost comically surprised, arms windmilling as he and the shake machine both crashed backwards with an unceremonious clang of metal on concrete. As quickly as it started, the chaos was over. Terry Higgs, milkshake murderer, lay dead on the factory floor while pools of pink-tinged blood steadily spread out from his body. For a long moment, Cruz and Nelson simply stared before turning to regard one another, faces twisted with sheer disbelief. Cruz stared at the fallen milkshake machine, then at Terry's body. Nelson rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. He said with sighing disappointment, "You know, Cruz, I think I'm done with fast food."
Murder Weekly is a Calaroga Shark Media production, written and hosted by Aidan I. Flanagan, produced by Mark Francis, executive producers Mark Francis and John McDermott. Portions of this podcast may have been created with the assistance of AI.
This show, along with hundreds of others from Calaroga Shark Media, is available commercial-free on any player, hassle-free. Just look for the link in the episode or show notes.
Calaroga Shark Media.